right, this is D.
This is C.
And this is
Black Meets World.
So, y'all, we're doing something for the first time. We are recording remotely, and we're all in a Google Hangout, which is really dope.
Look at us being goddamn progressive. Look at this. We all look at each other. I feel like I'm FaceTiming all of my close friends.
Right, which is actually really great.
Except, usually I'm more dressed. Actually, I'm not. This is usually how I am with my friends. I ain't lying to y'all.
Right.
You just have to take me as I am.
We're all taking our drinks in our remote places, and so the episode will be just as lit, we hope. So
we haven't done this in a while, like drinking on a podcast. We haven't done that.
Oh,
well, actually, that's a lie. We did it last time.
I was about to say, weren't we drunk on the last podcast?
This is true.
So here's a quick update. We were going to post another episode, but then the election results happened, and it didn't feel appropriate to post anything other than something specific to the election. C decided that she was going to leave the country for a few weeks, but we did.
All right.
We did make time to record this episode. So we have two guests today. We have Major.
Hey.
And we have young Alan.
That hesitation.
Hello, everyone. Right, that hesitation.
Well, because I didn't... Anyway. And so Alan lives in D.C., so we have a good perspective here. Major actually ended up at some of the protests in New York. We've all been trying to keep as current as possible. So I really don't even know where to begin.
The world lit on fire when we found out that man actually got elected into office.
Yeah, essentially.
I was still blown.
I had a mental breakdown. I went to sleep and woke up like an hour later during election night because I literally, I had a headache. I felt like I was having a conniption, basically, and had to take a moment to myself.
All right, let's share this. Okay, let's share where we were and that moment where we realized Trump could really be president last Tuesday. Like, what were you doing? Who were you with? Like, what was going through your mind?
So my roommate works at MSNBC, and he was at work. I was in the apartment by myself. I was having some drinks, and I was watching. I was also intently paying attention because I'm in a group chat of people who work late, and so they missed the first 2 hours. So I was actively reporting to the chat. Sometime around maybe 10:30, 11, when they kept saying that Virginia was too close to call, is when I realized shit was not about to go down the way we thought it was. Particularly because Kane is from Virginia, but also just the way that they were saying all the states were too close to call. There was Michigan and Pennsylvania and all these ones, and I was just like, oh shit, this is not looking good.
So I was in the beautiful state of Montana, by myself in a hotel room.
Damn.
On election night. I am still, and D has questioned and attacked me on this before, but I am still a resident of the state of Georgia. So I voted and casted my ballot in the state of Georgia, where I felt that it would make the most impact.
Amen.
Hello, and hello. But even though we were proved that that didn't mean shit either, because like they say, pretty much if you are outside the city limits of Atlanta, you are pretty much going back 60 years in time.
To be fair, Georgia was closer than normal.
I don't know the percentages. Did you see what it was city by city, or was it just overall?
I forget the exact numbers, but Georgia was definitely one of those too close to call states, and I found that very weird.
Yeah, because a lot of the big cities voted for Hillary, and a lot of the small cities didn't, and it was the same situation as everywhere, where they were still counting those back-ass cities when it came down to it, because they knew all the major cities had already voted blue. Got it.
Yeah. So I was in the great state of Montana when I was watching the news, and it's one of those moments where you're like, I was talking about the election the whole day, and it's not appropriate to talk at work, but I don't care. Did you vote? I hope you voted. and where do you stand? You know, it's one of those, like, I didn't care. So, like, it was one of those days that you felt like, all right, this is cool. We gonna make history with Hillary.
We also got shirts from our job where me, C, and Major all work. We got T-shirts that said, make sure, like, basically it was a vote and a check mark and like all of this. So they really encouraged us to get our asses up and go vote. So I think they kind of enforced the culture around it as well.
Oh, totally.
Right.
I mean, like, and then, you know, even department heads were saying if you have to come in late or leave early.
Or leave early, do what you got to do. So what happened with me is, like, I was, you know, I had been early voting, but I was in another state where people were, like, coming in late or leaving early or whatever, blah, blah, blah. But what I found interesting, right, is, like, I guess hearing the tone, because you have people on both sides. Like, I was in Missoula, Montana, which ironically is this very liberal town in the state of Montana. I know it's weird. So a lot of people were being like, all right, make sure you go vote and don't, like, like, fuck it up for everybody else in the world. Like, you know, it's like, even if you don't like Hillary, like, still anybody but Trump. It was one of those things that it was kind of like comical, whatever. And so I'm sitting in my hotel room by myself, like, in group chats and everything, and it dawned on me, I was like, yo, and forgive me for my statement, but I was like, yo, this nigga about to win. Like, this nigga Trump could really win. And I started, like, I'm 2 hours behind because I'm on Mountain Time, but, you know, they're having all the East Coast, like, you know, ballots closed, and so I'm like, yo, he's getting all the big states. Like, he's getting, like, Hillary's, like the areas that the pollsters, like, just knew she had in the bag. Like, he was taking all of that. And that's when it dawned on me. I was like, I gotta go to sleep. Because I'm over here getting anxiety. I'm getting upset. I'm over here sending, like, crazy-ass text messages. I just started getting crazy. I was like, let me go to sleep, and I'll wake up, and all will be right with the world. Because obviously, you know, this huge reality show of a fucking, like, an election will be over.
And then C texted us, like, first thing in the morning, like, bruh, I thought this was a nightmare. Like, straight out, thought it was a nightmare, and that shit is real life. Major, what about you?
So funny. So I was with, I was on the Upper West Side and did, like, dinner and drinks. So we had this, like, whole night planned. It was supposed to be kind of like a celebration, like, you know.
Yeah.
And, you know, if you know anything about New York, super liberal, you know, I mean, so I was out with myself, an Asian friend, and this multiracial couple. And the girl had this, like, Hillary shirt on with a blazer, like, dressed to the nines, like she was going to a party, but she had her Hillary gear on. Like, we were prepared to, like, get drunk and call out of work the next day. Like, you know what I'm saying? And so we were literally, like, bar hopping from place to place. We eat dinner, we bar hop, and then, you know, what we think is going to be, like, a happy, jubilant night. And then we settle in at this one place, and it was around, like, 10:30 at this point.
Right.
And, you know, I think there was one point where she was at 209, and he just, like, kept winning state after state after state. And that map was looking real red. And it was just like, shit, we just need, I mean, like, there's literally nothing I can do right here in this moment. So I went home after that. He was, like, at 240 or something. And and I stayed up till, like, 2:30 in the morning, just, like, waiting. And then I was like, well, shit, I guess I got to go to bed now. But so I went to bed, like, hoping for a different outcome. And lo and behold, not so much. I mean, it you know, it just kind of goes to show, like, and the atmosphere where we, in the restaurants where we were, like, people just knew Hillary was going to win. Like, people were, like, decked out and, like, ready to party and, like, literally, like, celebrate the first woman president. Like, yeah, it was crazy. And then, you know, you see people, like, the bars start to clear out, and, like,
it was just that button of depression almost. Like,
like,
once it hit everyone,
like,
at the same time, everyone hit rock bottom.
Yeah.
Alan, what about you?
So I was actually with my girlfriend, so I went over to her house to watch it because I wanted to be in the confines of, well, not my own house, but her house. So I didn't want to be out because I'm like, yo, if something does, like, if he wins, I don't want to go nuts or be around other people that are also going to go nuts. Plus, I hate traffic, so I also want to be close to home. So I'm watching it, and similarly, I'm like, oh yeah, like so she's definitely going to win Pennsylvania and Virginia and Michigan,
right,
and New Hampshire. I'm like, oh, these are easy money states, and they're like 50% of the votes are in. She's down 10,000, or she's down like 5,000. I'm like, oh yeah, all right. The next 25%, she's gonna be up, and she continued to be down, and I'm like, oh, this is too much red. This is entirely too much. She lost Florida. I said, oh Lord. And then go ahead.
No, sorry. I mean, I was just gonna say, like, the moment she lost Florida, I think that was when most people were like, "Oh," that was like around 11 o'clock, 10:30 or something, and people were like, "Oh, like this shit might go the other way." It's like, and the thing that all the pundits were saying was that she lost key states that Obama had won in both previous elections. So like
both elections, my G.
Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, like all of those went to Trump this time.
She didn't get any of those. And so I'm thinking to myself, like, what is going on? And then I started to get mad at Gary and like the third party guy.
Right. Gary over here taking his
damn vote. Because I'm like, Gary, your punk ass, you took all of these votes, and then you got 11,000 people who voted for Harambe. I'm like, y'all some idiots. So 1,000 of those votes, she lost, I think, Michigan by 1,000, or so. I can't remember what state it was, but she literally lost a state by like 500 votes. Now, if you're telling, if I find out that 600 votes voted for Harambe in that state, I'm gonna be livid. Oh, I'm telling you, I'm gonna be livid. But I'm mad at Gary and the people who voted for them. I'm like, y'all messed it up.
Right, and
somebody in.
So there's also the whole group of people who didn't vote, right? So like, there are insane stats about how we've had the lowest voter turnout, how of the people, of the millennial vote, like 9%. So I think the stat was like people under the age of 30, like 9% of those people didn't vote. And I felt like a lot of these people were the Bernie supporters who were just like, yo, we don't fuck with either Trump or Hillary. We're not voting.
Right.
And that made a huge difference. Like, if you look at the millennial map, maybe 3 states were red. Everything else was blue. If you look at the minority map, minorities across the country voted for Hillary, and then you literally had white women fuck up the whole thing by voting for Trump, which I'm sorry, like the articles after articles about like white women being disappointed in each other and like all this. I'm like, right, you should be, because y'all let this shit happen. Like, it wasn't.
I'll never forgive them. I'll never fucking forgive them.
Ever.
And you said,
you did this. You white women did this to us. I'll never forgive you.
Right.
You had
the thing that was also surprising is I think the number was something crazy, like 30% of Hispanics actually voted for Trump too.
Let me tell you something. First of all, I learned so much lately. So you know what? And granted, I get it. Like, regardless of how you feel about Hillary, it's just one of those moments where you're just like, anybody but Trump. Like, just anybody but this ignorant, inexperienced clown, right? Like, what I realize is, like, Hillary, and this is just her fault in general, and granted, like, I'm not going to give my side on, like, how I feel about Hillary, because I'll leave that for later, but, like, Hillary made a very key mistake in thinking that, like, all Hispanic people, that since he made such a large and grandiose, ignorant-ass statement about building a wall and Mexicans being rapists and murderers, that she thought, oh, I have all Latinos in the bag, forgetting the fact that there's a lot of Latinos. Right, and also forgetting the fact that, like, a lot of Latinos look down upon Mexicans, too. They're looking like, yo, we don't really want them either. Like, Hillary, you can't think that Mexicans and the rest of this huge Dominican, Puerto Rican, Panamanian, and anything else in Latin America, like, is cool with you just because you are in support of, like, Trump not trying to get rid of, like, Mexican immigration.
And not trying to build a wall. I think that and the fact that she didn't go to the battleground states and actively push for herself was a huge mistake, because I mean that there's so many pivotal pieces to this, and there's layers. Like if
there was like a huge like Haitians for Trump campaign.
No, I had no idea.
Like South Florida, which is pretty much like little Cuba, little Haiti. Like Trump had a huge like Haitian following. It's the craziest thing I've ever heard in my life. But there's a big like Haitians for Trump campaign.
Trump also won. So like my roommate working for a news station, I've just been reading like actual articles that he's been putting in our group chat. And one of the things was like Trump won more counties where less than 10% of adults had bachelor's degrees.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. It was
like 80%.
Uneducated.
Yeah, it was just like all of middle America essentially, and there's all these, like, basically that group of states that kind of goes like this from Louisiana up to Montana. And there were these memes like, France, you want to take them back and, like, all this stuff. Because it was so crazy how
the Louisiana Purchase.
Yeah.
Like that middle part of America.
How crazy all this shit
the
actually
white uneducated.
Right.
Yeah. I think it's, I mean, I don't know. I don't want to play devil's advocate too much, but, like, and not to get, like, super CNN on it, but I think I think in this election we did kind of see the rise of like populist sentiment on both sides, right? So like that person on the Republican side just happened to be Trump, and that was Bernie for the Democratic side, and I just wonder how the election would have been had it been a Trump-Bernie situation. But then even more than that, you got to remember like. This is really sad, but they are kind of like two Americas, and both sides kind of live in their own bubble. You know what I mean? And so in the other bubble, like the not coastal, not liberal, not major city bubble, they're like the government forgot about us, and everyone else seems to be doing well in this new economy except us. We still like coal mining and like we're the heartland and all that kind of stuff. I know.
They still in these blue collar factory working jobs, but yeah, that's real.
Because I mean,
their children are on heroin and they are through with it. They are tired of it.
But I think it's easy to say that, but you got to understand, we also live in our own bubble, right? So like they think we're just as crazy. Like they're not trying to hear about like transgender using whatever bathroom they want. They're not trying to hear about gay marriage. They're not trying to hear about Obamacare, like, because their premiums are going up. You know what I mean? It's like.
So I want to touch on that because you ended up in a protest, and I just wanted to point out like one other stat. In this election, 46.9% of people didn't vote.
Yeah.
25.6 voted for Hillary, and 25.5 voted for Trump. So like the margin is almost.
Wait. Sorry, what's the percentage of people who did not vote?
46.9.
Exactly.
And they were only difference 0.1%, and I think like this is where the issues of popular votes versus electoral votes come in, because the popular vote clearly went to Hillary, but the electoral vote went to Trump based on the fact that like the government beat itself at this point. But I did just want to talk about sort of like the change in climate since the election happened. Alan, with you in DC, and also Major, you having like walked into one specifically protest.
The climate here has changed. I mean, they've been protesting outside of the new Trump Tower for the last 20 days now. It's been pretty severe. I think they said hate crimes have gone up. I don't know the percentage on that here, but they said hate crimes have gone up here since the election. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely still pretty contentious, I would say.
Did you have any experience in the office? Like, I know that you work for the government.
So it's a little different. So I'm outside of the city. I work in Alexandria, and that's in like Fairfax County, which is I think one of the most liberal counties in Virginia. So like everyone I talked to was a Hillary supporter, and they were like, "Man, fuck this." Sorry, my bad. They were like,
"You good? Speak your truth."
They were like, "Man, fuck this." Like I don't understand this. Blah blah blah. Like a lot of people didn't show up to work the next day because they just weren't feeling it. Like, they were trying to figure out how. Like, it was a black guy in the office, and he and I were talking. We talk pretty often, and he was like, I don't really know what I'm gonna tell my kids about this, like, because this shouldn't happen. Like, this shouldn't have happened. Like, you can be a bigot and a racist and still somehow succeed in the U.S. Like, how am I gonna tell my kids that? I'm like, you're right. I don't have any kids, but I get that. I mean, it makes sense. So,
I mean, I think we just got to remember that if anything, America showed its true colors a little bit. I mean, this country is still not as progressive as we would like to think it is, and there is a huge strain of intolerance and bigotry, particularly in the Republican Party, because they feel like the country is, for some reason, being taken from them. So it's deeper than rap, but like I don't know, it's not.
Let me tell you about these.
It's kind of scary.
Well, wait though, how did you actually end up in the protests?
Oh, me. Okay, yeah. So we actually went to like a premiere screening for some show.
This is next day.
Well, yeah, this is like the very next day. Like we had like planned on the calendar or whatever, and like so just me and kind of pretty much these same friends, we went to this thing and we were like, oh, we need to laugh, we just need to have a good time, like forget the craziness. So we go to this thing, and the theater of the screening was like 57th and 5th. So that's like right in the heart of where the protest was, and we didn't really realize that was going to be happening that night. So we step outside and we see like people with signs and people are screaming, and we're like, oh shit, like what's going down? And some girls like, oh yeah, it's a Trump protest over there, and then we think, oh right, because the Trump Tower's on 57th Street, so let's just like, so let's just walk over there and just see what's up. And when I tell you, like, it was like a sea of people. The whole intersection was like, there was definitely police presence there, but like imagine 57th and 5th Avenue. You got the Bulgari store there, Trump Tower there. What we then found out was that the plan was to march from Trump Tower to Trump Tower. So it was like Trump Tower on 5th Avenue, and then they walked along Central Park West, or like 59th Street, to the Trump Columbus Circle. But it had started apparently at like 6:30 in Union Square with like 30 people. So it was like super random and organic how it happened. I don't even know how organized it was, but like people just started piling on as they marched up 5th Avenue, and they find themselves on 57th Street, the whole intersection blocked off. It was a sight to see because like it was a mix of, you know, you could tell kind of hipster crowd, college students, but then like working people that looked like they just got out of the office with suits on, all talking about not my president. You know, like women were chanting like my body, my choice, and then the guys were chanting her body, her choice. Like it was like this crazy, a lot of chants, like not my president, you know, president is a rapist. It was like there were signs with Trump's head with a swastika on it. It was like kind of surreal. Like,
well, that's what happens when the fucking KKK head dude and Putin and all these ISIS leaders are like, oh, we can't wait to have Trump in office. Yeah. What the fuck do you think we're gonna do to that? That's not a real thing. Right. Politically speaking, or in general, if any other person was aligned with the previous leader of the KKK, any ISIS leadership, period, Putin, all this other shit, we would be investigating them. We'd be reading their emails, mind you. So for them to be
who
like,
is he aligned with at ISIS?
I don't know. ISIS put out some, I don't remember if it was like a YouTube video or what, but they actively said that they like supported Trump being president and that they were.
Girl, shut up!
I'm not playing with you.
Because he helps fuel their ideology. Like, if he's preaching all this anti-Muslim stuff, that's like an easy recruitment effort. Like,
easy
oh, you see how
money.
much I hate you?
And this nigga Trump is the one who said that Barack Obama himself created ISIS.
Jesus.
Alrighty.
Apart from being Muslim and not being born in America.
Right.
Also, I mean, because obviously he's not an American. He wasn't born in the United States.
Right.
So like Trump is a first class dumbass in my opinion. Right. Like you've got him staffing the White House with every single racist bigot he can find. He didn't even know he needed a White House staff that he needed to appoint. He didn't know where shit was in the White House when they were giving him the tour.
The man likely took a civics class in the 1960s when he actually was still in school, primary school. Like that. Like, legit, this man has no reason to even learn about the world when the world is at his footsteps. Right. He is in the 1% club who has lived in the fucking, like, penthouse suite for his entire life and has built an empire living in that way.
Right.
Like,
speaking
he's like, why
that,
do I gotta relate? Yeah, go for it. No, go for it.
He doesn't actually want to live in the White House.
Yeah. I saw that.
Oh, no.
That is so absurd to me. Like, I don't want to live in the White House. I want to wake up in New York. I've been doing during my life.
Right.
And the worst part about it, well, like, that's not the White House, but they finally finished the construction on the Capitol building, which has been there for the last 4 years, just in time for Trump to enter D.C. I'm so upset about that. All the pictures in D.C. over the last 4 years have been terrible because of that. And now it's done because he's here. I'm so out there. I'm so out there.
Yes, it's a struggle to really even digest. And we, in my apartment, we put up, the only thing that's hanging in here is this poster of Barack. It's his destiny photo, and it says, "Our destiny is not written for us, but by us." So I think, you know, all of this is absurd, right? But what I find two things that I can't reconcile at all. Number one, Trump is reneging on everything.
Yes.
These little Americans hate him. They hate him. He's like gay marriage. I don't care about that. Y'all get married. I don't care.
He was just like, fuck's not given.
Right? Why do I need to stop a woman from getting an abortion? What that got to do with me? What that got to do with my bank account?
That secretly is my saving grace optimism. Like, I seriously cannot, until they find out he's just another Manhattan dude. And
liberal as fuck.
Liberal AF, as Issa Rae would say. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can't wait to...
Yeah, I completely agree. Like, he's mad liberal, and he's now, I think he's surrounding himself with all of these racist people and, like, setting it up so that if he decides to dip out, he'll have at least, like, stuck to his word about that. Like, oh, I was a racist this whole time. Like, I hired all these people who are, like, dangerous as hell to me. Like, they're all dangerous. But then the other thing that strikes me, that really, really hits me in my core, and I feel like, you'll be able to relate to this just generally, like, the Michelle Obama slander makes me so, like, my blood boils. My fucking blood boils.
It just shows you how racist people are. I mean, like, and truly, when you ever even try to dare open your mouth and say that you want to compare Michelle Obama to Melania J. What'd you call her, Melania J?
I call her Melania.
Melania Trump. And think that you can even have some sort of, like, logical argument. It's foolish.
You tried it.
An Ivy Leaguer versus someone who can't use the plural. Like, I don't understand.
Y'all saw the meme? It was like...
Who learned English last year?
There are two Ivy degrees in the room, and both of them belong to Michelle. It was just like, right. As part of that, right? We've seen so much shit on the internet in the past 7 days with respect to basically people just actively justifying their bullying and mean-spiritedness because Trump is in office. And one thing I saw was like a mayor in some bumblefuck town in the middle of nowhere tweeted and was like, "I'm so happy that we won't have to look at an ape in heels anymore." And I said,
I'm sorry.
I said, I'm grateful.
What?
I'm so happy that we'll now have a classy, dignified, and beautiful first lady in office. I said, excuse the hell out of me. Excuse the whole fuck out of me. I'm sorry.
I need you to run that back, B.
Okay.
Did you say a mayor, an elected official?
An elected official. Right. Said, I'm gonna go back and find the tweet, but I'm quoting it accurately because I'm
about to find her and we about to square up. Listen, listen.
She don't want these hands.
She about to get back.
But it's so right. It's just so boldly offensive
Yeah.
It's not even like dressed up in like in a fancy way to make it sound a little like it's racist, but it's not like, oh, we can kind of make it sound nice in order for me to say it. It's like you blatantly
I'm just gonna be overt.
Right. Oh, you think now Trump in office that you could say the racist shit that you say behind closed doors?
Okay, here we go. You ready?
Webs exist to have your receipt?
Here it is. The director of a West Virginia development group.
You said it right there. West goddamn Virginia. See, that's where people go to die.
The director of a West Virginia development group and a mayor are under scrutiny after a racist post about First Lady Michelle Obama caused a backlash and promoted calls on social media for both women to be fired. Clay County Development Corp Director Pamela Ramsey Taylor made the post following Donald Trump's election as president, saying, "It will be refreshing to have a classy, beautiful, dignified First Lady in the White House. I'm tired of seeing an ape in heels." Clay Mayor Beverly Whaling responded, "Just made my day, Pam." I said, oh, okay. Mind you, their Facebook pages couldn't be found on Monday. I was just like, y'all better go into all the hiding you can find. You need to go somewhere so far away, because if I ever see you,
to hide in West Virginia.
Lord. So that's where we're at.
Right. Well, that's exactly what I was going to say. That's where we're at. That's where we are as a country. And you want to talk about the protests again? A part of it was a weird hybrid of well, first of all, let me just say, I get freaked out by mob activity anyway. So being in that environment and being squished up against police barricades, I'm like, nah, I'm about to be the first motherfucker to get shot because I'm black and y'all ain't. So I was like, let me get the hell up out of here.
Which deals with the demographic. What was the demographic of people protesting?
It was mostly white, but certainly the younger crowd was diverse. You heard a lot of Black Lives Matter. You heard a lot of whole bunch of shit, people climbing on bus stops and lampposts. It was
okay. I see the
it was some LA riot shit after a while, and I was like, let's go. Look, these 3 black people that we got with us, let's go and get up out of here.
Yeah,
right.
It was equal parts inspiring and scary, because it was inspiring that these young people are feeling invigorated and engaged to use the First Amendment rights, but then scary to think that our country is this fractured. That's kind of what I kept thinking. And it was if the reverse had happened, had we had Hillary, if this were about Hillary now, if she had won, I almost feel like we'd be seeing the same types of things in Middle America. In your St. Louis, Missouri, in your Omaha, Nebraska, we'd be seeing the same kind of thing. And that's not healthy when an election kind of brings out that kind of rage in people.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what the fine line is, right? So they had an analogy, and that's not even an analogy, it's actually fact. And they said the number of Starbucks you have in your community
yes,
kind of determines where you would vote, right? If you have XYZ, let's say if you have so many Starbucks in a certain radius, that might mean the area that you live in is kind of progressive. It might mean you have diversity in the area that you live in versus you live in, let's say, West fucking Virginia, and you are one of those people who, in your community of 10,000, all of 3,000 may have a degree of an associate's or higher, right? Where the majority of the population either dropped out of high school, did not finish high school, and it's extremely homogeneous. And then it's still people are living on welfare and have fewer jobs and blame immigrants and Mexicans for stealing their jobs and shit. And they're working in coal mines and fucking working at the factory with steel hats and shit.
Well, I think that goes to the miseducation of the Negro. It's white people will do anything not to be the poorest people. So
exactly, which is the fight of what the Black Panther Party was trying to do. It's unite poor white people, poor immigrants, poor Irish people, poor Jewish people, unite people of color who have been oppressed. It's the same thing that the message of Democrats used to be. It's let's unite these groups. I feel like the Democratic Party has strayed away from that. Yeah. And that's why we're seeing what we've now come to, where it's just Hillary, how did you lose? How? Oh, it makes me tired. It makes me so tired.
Well, and I saw this post on Instagram. I can't remember who it came from, but it was maybe like a couple days after the results, or maybe a day after, and it was like, for all those who are unhappy with the election results, don't move to Canada. Move to a red state and teach in public schools. You know, it was something of that effect.
I love that. I love teach one, reach one, teach one. But let me tell you what we as Black people ain't about to do. I ain't sitting here, and just like Jonathan said, our good old Jonathan for Brevity, it's not my goddamn job to educate every goddamn white person that wants to come across and have, a trial and error, or, let's see how far I can get by, speaking my white unapologetic truth and me having to educate you every step of the way. I ain't got time. I don't have the time and the mental capacity to sit here and say, you know what? When you say, when you curse and use the N-word in rap music, it's offensive to me. Or when I say to you, when you say that I'm articulate, it can be a little condescending. Or when you speak of Black people like Trump does, living all in inner cities, obviously, and being their lives being at risk every single day, which actually that is fact, being their lives being at risk on a regular basis comparatively to their white peers. I don't have the time or the energy to educate you. But Middle America has what? They have fucking internet. They have fucking resources. And if they want it, now granted, I say it like this: if you're poor, you're poor, and if you were raised in a home that hasn't nurtured you to have resources to proper education, it is tough to get out of your community, because if your mama didn't travel, your daddy didn't travel, your auntie didn't go to school, and your grandma didn't go to school, you likely will follow the same path that they did because you don't know any better. But when there's this thing called the interwebs, and you have skin that is white, and you wanted to go and better yourself. You, my friend, would have and move to another fucking city that's outside of your comfort zone. You, my friend, would have a better chance than my Black ass with probably 3 times the degrees, just because of your privilege, your inherent privilege.
Facts. See, you just preached. I ain't mad.
See, I ain't mad, but let me tell you a little something about the internet.
Yeah.
There's a lot of untruths being swirled around the internet, and like all the news stations have been talking about how this election really brought to light how, well, first of all, there was a stat that said 60% of people or 70% of people get their news from Facebook.
Jesus, are you serious?
I believe that makes sense, though. That makes sense.
And so there was an article about how now Google and Facebook are trying to partner together to moderate some of this shit so that you don't have untrue news out in the world. There were literal articles that talked about Obama being a Muslim and that he was born in Kenya. These are news, and you think about a Facebook profile, you got people sharing shit, some people sharing Washington Post, some people sharing Slate.
Exponentially.
All of it ain't,
That's
check
so true.
You know what I mean? So so people, now we have echo chambers where people can go get their news from whatever source is going to justify what they think.
Right. Mm-hmm. You know, it's funny you said that. So they had this, and I don't know if y'all watch Vice News tonight, but first of all, I love me some Vice. That shit is everything. But they had, so Facebook has basically, it is upsetting because it just shows you what life is like and how racism transcends even how you think. But anyway, so basically Facebook has a way for you to create an event, if it's for a college, if it's for job recruitment, if it's for a business. I can literally put a post on Facebook and I can target exactly who I want, whether it's women between these ages or whether it's Latinos from this age, or if it's Black people from this age group, or if it's Asian or whatever group. But guess what group is not listed?
Mm-hmm.
White. So if I want to target those groups, I have to check that box, right? If I don't want to target those groups, I don't have to check that box. But white people aren't included in that because they're general versus actually having like targeted minority groups. So Facebook has this big, I don't know if it's like this big thing. I don't know if it's a lawsuit. I don't know if it's being played out in the court of law, but I know
heard about
this big controversy. You heard about the big controversy where basically Facebook is being like asked like, please take down this particular feature because this is racist. Because now I can basically have an event or a business that I'm like, I want to target all of these people on Facebook except Black, Latino, Asian, and anything else that is up that has a hue.
I saw that too, and I think it was in regards to like certain businesses. So say you have like, you know, a mortgage lending company or something, and you don't want to offer your services to Black or Latino people. You can like anti-target or target away from those Facebook users to only target to white people, and so that's what they were kind of being like they were catching fire for. So yeah, you're right. Like I saw that. Yeah, Facebook is kind of rethinking that. Apparently.
Facebook needs to get this shit together.
How that's so. Go ahead, D.
Okay, I was just gonna say like the amount of hate speech I've seen on Facebook should also be somewhere in a petition because I saw yesterday
should be illegal.
Yeah, I mean it's abuse. It's abuse. I have a friend who went to UVA and. She's my year. She's about Alan's complexion, maybe a little bit lighter. And she posted something about the election. This white dude commented and was just like, well, you're not Black, so I don't know why you're talking about it. Mind you, she's half Black. And her name on Facebook is Jordan Blair. Blair's her middle name. She was just like, who the fuck, like, I don't know you. Have we ever met? Like, who are you? And he was just like, you're over here, you know, acting like you're Black. Your last name is Blair. You're about as Black as I am. I was like, I'm sorry. Who authorized you? And this is the shit that's happening everywhere, all over the place. Facebook is basically condoning this shit because they're not policing it at all. Like people, we're now subjected to literal cyberbullying all day, all the time. And people are just like, well, I don't have to pay attention to you anymore. I don't have to listen to you. I don't have to respect you just because Trump's in office. Like that to me is so mind-blowing and makes me literally go down a list of Black people I know every day and just be like, I hope they're good. Like I'm checking in more so than I've ever checked in when people just been like, yo, y'all made it through today? All right, bet. Because this shit is ridiculous.
Mental health. Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Because it's like, when something like this happens, it's almost like, you know, there should be therapy for this, right? Like,
yeah.
There should be.
It's almost like we need grief counseling.
We really do.
Word.
Like we almost need grief counseling for this.
I honestly think that the election day we should have election day and the day after off. And it should be in every city, everywhere, at schools. They should have workshops about what the hell is actually happening in the government because people don't actually know. And so we should be having conversations around policy. We should be having discussions about the actual results of the election. We should be talking about the implications of those who have been elected and what that means long term. Because the fact that Trump didn't know he needed to staff the White House is one thing, but the fact that people don't know that he's now going to control all of the branches of government and select Supreme Court justices is something else. Because y'all voted for him not knowing these things, and now we're at a point where we can't take that shit back. It's done.
Or the fact that he Googled Obamacare for the first time the day after the election.
The day after.
Wow. And you know what?
Don't tell me that's true.
It was in the New York Post or no, the New Yorker. It was the New Yorker, I think.
The New Yorker,
You know what? To be honest, there's some pretty good things in here. That's his response to Googling Obamacare for the first time.
Who's man?
And he was adamantly against Obamacare, who also, I feel like majority of America, and correct me on the other name of Obamacare, the
Affordable Care Act.
Affordable Care Act, which most people don't even know or understand. It's the same goddamn.
Oh, have you seen the what you call it, the street interviews of people, and it's like, oh, would you vote for Obamacare or the Affordable Care Act? And like everyone says Affordable Care Act. And then when you tell them it's the same thing, everybody looks shook.
Yes.
Did you see the interview where he said all of his employees had Obamacare? All of his full-time employees had Obamacare.
Oh my God!
Like how can that happen?
What?
If you provide benefits to your employees,
With your
How do
crooked
they
ass.
have Obama? Right, with your crooked ass. How do they have Obamacare? Riddle me that.
What's your cricket ass?
Please tell me. And then he said, all right, I can't remember where it came out, but they said that he was overwhelmed with the transition. Like, my nigga, you ain't even started yet.
Oh yeah.
My nigga, you haven't started yet. How are you overwhelmed?
He overwhelmed with the tour.
The easy part.
Well,
They told him to search Obamacare, and that was too much for him. And fill the White House staff.
Well,
Ben Carson turned him down.
yeah.
This is sad.
Mercy.
Well, so they said the meeting between them lasted like an hour and a half.
Because he doesn't know what's actually going on. And it could also be that Biden locked the doors, gave him the wrong direction.
The Biden memes are hilarious.
I love it.
The Biden
Love
memes.
that Biden has for Obama and and the disgust that he has for basically anything that is basically Biden is black in my eyes at this current moment, because Biden's like, y'all really elected this nigga? I mean, of everybody that you could have, I mean, there was just no one else that was qualified. And Biden's like, you know what? I rock with my man, Mr. Barrio, and you're not about to be coming up in his house and disrespecting him. I feel like
You saw the video when during Obama's speech, like the day after or something, and Obama said that we're gonna like all work together, and Biden did the Catholic symbol across his chest.
No.
Oh no! Yo, it's on camera. I cried. Oh my god, I cried.
Yo, he ain't gonna pass in the Wi-Fi. I put that on everything.
It was that, and like the one that was like, I showed him the nuclear launch codes, and Obama was like, Joe, that was your Game Boy. He was like, I know. Yo, they are killing me. Woo.
Oh, that's so funny.
We're gonna miss them. I think that's what it comes down to, is just like, I don't care at all for Melania and her
and
being
that ugly family.
Melania and
family,
her
they
being.
look like they have like a chromosome missing. Like, you know, like some people look like you've inbred for so long that something's just a little off. Yeah.
Sorry.
Ouch.
That's how I feel.
Well,
also, have you seen people getting like the Ivanka Trump facelift or makeover?
No.
Like there's white women in America today getting their faces reconstructed to look like
the
Ivanka
Botox
Trump.
thing.
Girl, no, I'm talking about full facial reconstruction.
Oh my god.
The
no.
nose, the jawline.
Oh.
And that's what I knew. You know, the people who are voting for this family are clearly disillusioned.
I mean, like, at face value, I mean, aside from, like, everything, from the very beginning, Trump getting the nomination is the most ass-backwards thing you ever heard in your life, because he's on his third baby mama with kids ranging from 10 to 55, and, like, we gotta sit up here and take them seriously. Like, how are you even a relatable first family, first off? Second of all, like...
When you got 4 families. What? Like,
right.
which one?
No,
which one?
But then Michelle Obama's an 8, you know.
Right, right. And Malia smokes weed, so she's going to hell. And, you know, everybody want to overlook the fact that she got into Ivy League schools and has been interning and doing all her shit. And, like,
And it's smarter than most people. I just feel like this, right? We all know Melania was a mail-order bride. Right. We all heard the quote about Trump saying, I mean, you know, I only really had a kid because she wanted me to have another one. But, you know, I said you could just deal with him. We all heard this. Everything about Trump is literally the billionaire's, like, detached dream. He's made billions of dollars. He has no connection to the world. He's 70 fucking years old, and he's still getting passes about saying, grabbing people's, you know, vaginas. Listen, I usually throw out the word pussy. Grabbing people's pussy and he was immature at the time, and people still giving him passes. And all of this conversation just leads up to the fact that it's just a clown fucking disaster. Your family's a hoax. You as a presidential even nominee was a hoax, let alone being a fucking presidential candidate who was elected into office by these dumbass people in middle America and white women who I will never forgive. I told y'all this. And I'm just tired.
Yeah.
Like, what, you know when it dawned on me? It dawned on me like that afternoon after, that Wednesday after the election. And I was like, yo, this nigga about to be in that house for 4 years.
Right.
I
said I'll be 28 when he gets out. How? Like, I'll be...
Oh, girl, I ain't even gonna discuss my age. Goddamn. No, 4 fucking years.
That's if he stays on 4.
So, I was just gonna say, looking forward, I think, like, and then, we can kind of wrap up, like, I personally, and maybe we'll do this, what do you think is going to happen? Because for me, I genuinely don't think that we're going to see a Trump presidency. I think between the fact that he didn't know he had to staff the White House, the fact that he don't even want to live there, the fact that he has 2 trials, that we haven't seen his taxes, and that him running these businesses is going to be a very, very, very major conflict of interest. There's gonna be.
He realizes this is his full-time job, right?
Well, no, and that's what I'm saying. I think that he'll give up the presidency before he gives up his business control personally.
Oh, yeah.
And I think we're really looking at a Pence presidency at some point.
Which is also
how y'all feel about Pence?
Well, right. That's a whole.
Pence and his gay conversion tactics as well as a little.
Oh, I haven't heard about the gay conversion. Please elaborate.
So I think he said he would divert taxpayer money to set up some program to convert gays back to being straight.
Lord help them. Lord help them.
This is taxpayer money.
Wow.
Taxes that Trump don't pay, so. Okay.
That Trump doesn't pay.
Wow.
Child.
This is something that that Pence is in favor
of.
You thought Mitt Romney don't pay no tax?
Sure, right. Yeah, it's that's an actual thing that he has said publicly. Like, not like in the low in my own crib type thing. Like, that was something he said with a camera and a recorder.
I mean, but in terms of the future, though, I mean, D, I kind of see what you're saying, but I think, honestly, that'll be the most dramatic thing that happens, like seeing a Mike Pence presidency.
Do you really think that? Okay.
Honestly, I mean, I think we really do need to brace ourselves for Trump. However, I think he's going to get in there, realize how difficult that shit is, because campaigning is different from governing, and he's going to realize how this shit really works. And half that shit he was preaching on the campaign trail is not going to happen. And people are going to be disillusioned, and they're going to be mad, but he's going to be so moderate, people are going to be pissed. But, I think, one thing that we have to also take into account is everybody felt that way about Obama. It was like, Obama got in office, and in his first 4 years, he didn't really have time to turn up because he was dealing with all
turning around a horrible 8 years of foolishness.
And so that's what he said.
A fucking recession.
He said the other day, it was like, Trump is taking over the presidency at a state in which America is better off than when I took it. And I completely agree with that. Like, we're just in a different place. I think Obama had a lot of work to do in the first 4 years, and then he made a lot of moves in his last 4 years. I don't know, what Trump, I assume policy will get passed. I really do think that he'll be able to do certain things that are maybe irreversible for the foreseeable future, but I for some reason, in my gut, and I don't know if it's one of those, believing in God things or just like a gut feeling, but I just can't imagine Trump being in office for 4 straight years. Can't see it. And that's just me.
Well, I mean, so I was with some friends Friday night. Like, we were just, commiserating and, trying to figure this shit out for real. And it came down to, all right, so what now? Let's say we have President Trump for 4 years. What do we do now? I think we boiled it down to a few things. I think one is we need to become more engaged and active than we ever have before as a generation. Donate to those, organizations that are now going to need help under a Trump presidency. Volunteer, do all the things that we know we have time to do for real, but we should be doing as young, educated people who are going to be the next generation in this country. And then secondly, I think it's somehow, some way, we have to have these kinds of conversations with people who don't look, live, and think like us.
Yes.
Right. That's great.
I think that's why this country is so fractured. We somehow we got to do that. there's a whole half of the country who does not think like the four of us. You know?
Right.
Right.
Well, HuffPost is coming out with a 10-part series about what to do next. The first one was about basically campaigning for the election in 2018 and just focusing on like local politics and taking back some of the Senate and like actually voting for local things, because that ultimately is you know, a start, and that's where things stem from, and we've got to mobilize now to make sure that those things happen. So I would definitely say keep an eye out for that as well.
So these are my predictions, right? I feel like everything that you guys said is amazing, and I think that as sad as this is, right, you can look at it from two lenses, right? You can look at it from a lens of despair, hopelessness, sadness, and frustration and anger. Or you can look at it from a lens of, all right, let me look at this as a way for me to become more engaged and involved. And like you said, you know, Major, start actively having these conversations with people who are not like me, who have different views than me, understand where they're coming from, and also probably even enlighten them, right? Also, D, coming from the perspective of like, let's also get involved and be more engaged in local politics in our communities and things like that. But it also makes me think, damn, why don't we have these conversations more throughout the year than just every fucking 4 years, right?
Facts.
Or the fact that, like, you know what? There's going to be an entire generation, right? 2020 is going to be the next election. You're going to have the first generation of kids who have only been connected. They didn't grow up with no, yo, I got to call your mom's landline and have a gatekeeper, you know, involved in the house. You know what I'm saying? Like, all of us, for the most part, grew up at one point where, like, your friends had to call your house to talk to you before cell phones, right? There's a generation in 2020 that will be the generation that was like, all I've ever known was Facebook. Facebook was around when I was 4. What do you mean? Even shit, when I was 2. There's going to be a generation that is so infuriated and empowered and motivated to vote that they will elect a female, Latino, Afro-Latino, homosexual, transgender woman into the office. I don't know, whatever. But I just feel that this will propel us to be in a very different place than where we are now. And it empowers me, despite the fact that Trump may set us back by electing people like fucking Giuliani and shit, like, and electing a justice that still believes in separate but equal policies. I don't know. Despite what Trump may do and rewind us back into, I feel like this will also cause people, it will galvanize people to be way more involved. Yeah. And I think that is the silver lining to all of this foolishness that we're doing right now.
Yeah, definitely.
But I'm just, it exhausts.
Alan, you have any?
It is exhausting.
Yeah.
So I hope the next 4 years are filled with people just calling him Donald. Because they for sure called Obama. They didn't call President Obama for 8 years.
Right.
And that was one, I found that very annoying. But I hope they call him Donald. 2, I guess piggybacking off a lot of what you guys are saying, like, I think now it's eye-opening to minorities and just people in general that, like, you have to have your interests at the front of your mind. Like, no one's going to do it for you. And so now you know that you have a president who doesn't care about that. So his initiatives won't be, it seems like they won't be along the lines of diversity and inclusion or anything of that matter. So if you want something to happen, like, you have to make it happen. And you have to have these conversations, like you guys are saying, get together with organizations like In the Bowen and so on and so forth to kind of move diversity forward within these major companies, vote in local elections, et cetera, et cetera. So, yeah, I mean, it definitely is eye-opening for me in that regard. And the only Donald I recognize is Donald Glover. And maybe Donald Duck.
I was going to say Donald Duck, but you got that.
Shout out Donald
Duck, too?
Right.
But Donald Glover is so much better. Oh,
right.
Yes.
I wholeheartedly agree. So I'm going to make my poster if they can do it for Christopher Wallace, then I can do it for Donald Glover. So.
Yo, you're out of pocket.
I love Atlanta. Oh, man, I love that goddamn show. That shit's genius. And as a person on this, but as a person from Atlanta, yo, that shit is accurate. Yo, that episode with the lemon pepper wings, with the wet lemon
You
pepper wings.
talk about lemon pepper wings constantly, girl.
Bruh, the best kind of wings. If you ain't getting them from J.R. Cricket, you get them from the club, baby. Baby. Listen.
The strip club got the best wing in the country.
Oh my God. I love when y'all have these Atlanta moments. It really makes me happy for y'all.
Also, I love the way they address microaggressions that Black people deal with, but also that just broke people, regardless of your race, deal with those as well.
I mean, what a time to be alive, right? Like, we're watching all these Black TV shows between Insecure, Queen Sugar,
right.
Atlanta, like, and then Shauna's still doing her thing on Thursdays. We get to see all of these things that I think we've been craving, and we are all used to, like, the legacy sort of Family Matters, Living Single, Different Worlds, Cosby Show. You know, it was like that, and then it was like Fresh Prince, Moesha, the one-on-ones, and all that kind of stuff. But now this is sort of
true.
The next wave of Black TV is coming through so hard. You know, we're still waiting on Underground and, you know, other shows that are coming out and being newly released. So even though we're struggling, I think, you know, people have been saying, as Black people, we've never been in a better position because we are creating voices for ourselves. We're actively mobilizing. We're actively trying to have these conversations and be progressive. And, like, while this election is going to take a major toll on us as a group, I think we, as a unit, are moving in the right direction and taking control of a lot of the spaces that we haven't previously taken control of. So,
amen.
I'm here for it.
That's what's up.
So,
yeah, and as a Black person, on that note, I'm going to end with, as a Black person who just visited a Black-ass country as Cuba, it made me very proud to be an American. And you know, I don't talk like this ever, but to be able to capture, to be able to witness, be in a country where there are limited resources, and be very thankful for where I'm from, it gave me perspective.
Yeah.
Despite the foolishness of this election, living in a communist country sucks on a lot of levels, unless you're in the privileged class.
Right.
But the country is beautiful. The people are beautiful. All those things are beautiful. But, I mean, imagine being in a place where, I mean, the whole damn country just got Wi-Fi. You know what I'm saying? Like, and
I'm dead.
It's still run by the government.
I'm dead. I'm dead.
Like,
it's rough.
It's a
I did not.
Right perspective, right? And the Wi-Fi is still government run. Like, if I wanted to get Wi-Fi, I had to get this card that looks like a calling card and scratch off a number off the back as a barcode and, like, put it in my phone to use it. That's crazy.
Wild.
That is crazy.
It's wild. And it gives you perspective, like, yo, I could complain all day about Trump this and his clown ways. But guess what? If I wanted to, I live in a capitalist society. I ain't gonna make this money real quick. You know what I'm saying? Well, not real quick, but you know what I'm saying. I have resources available to me if I really, truly wanted to work, if I really wanted to get up out of my country and travel. American, you know, passports are lit. We can go pretty much anywhere in the world. You know what I'm saying? Other people from other countries can't do that, especially with this new immigration policy that Trump might be over here trying to do.
No, but I mean, that's kind of what I've been telling people too. Like, as everyone's been kind of like depressed the past week, I've been saying, like, listen, we have the Constitution for a reason. We have balance of power in this country for a reason. 3 branches of government. Like, on our worst day, this is still America. You know what I mean? Like,
right. All right. Well, you know what? Any last thoughts? I think, you know, we covered a lot from sort of beginning to end. And honestly, this has only been the first week. We're only 1 week into this whole situation. And so I'll probably be taking off the day that he goes into office on the 20th in January. And I will be at the march in D.C. on the 21st.
I'll be there.
Hey.
So Black Meets World will be there.
Black Meets World. I'm glad that we're having this conversation because we didn't plan that.
I actually got tickets to the African American Museum that weekend.
Do you have an extra one? Bill?
No, I don't. But you know, you can still get you can still go early and get tickets. And also, I'm not gonna say this on the podcast. So anyway, I gotta wait for you to get a ticket. Yay! I'm not gonna be acting real Black on the podcast and tell you a way to get in if you didn't have a ticket in advance.
We're gonna talk about this. Look, let me project manage you and say we're gonna talk about this offline.
All right.
Because I need to know your ways. Okay.
Let's table this.
And on that note.
Right. So yeah, thank y'all for listening. Look, we know that the election has taken a toll, and we know that it's hard to even really wrap your head around and talk about. But if you have thoughts, let us know. Tweet at us, email us. We really are interested in any and all perspectives. Shout out to Major and Alan for joining us tonight.
Yay.
So you want to hit the social media wave?
Yeah, follow us on Twitter. You can find us on the tweeters, Black Meets World. On Instagram at Black_Meets_World. And we're going to begin the Snapchat. It's going to be lit. You know, one of us, D or C, will find the time to start snapping. And when that day comes, it'll be glorious. So, in the meantime, between times.
Send us an email at blackmeetsworld@gmail.com. See, this is why I don't let you do the social media. And or email us at info@blackmeetsworld.com. Thanks for listening. Y'all stay black and blessed.
I like that. Stay black. Bye, y'all.
Bye.